What would you say has been the question you've been trying to answer with your life?
How to slow down aging on a cellular level. I had this passion for skin and anti-aging because of my love for my mother and admiration for my mother.
Inspired by her love for her mother, Sham has built her clinic empire Derma in the Middle East, dedicated to holistic, patient-centered care for aging women.
As women, after going through menopause, we start aging much faster than men do.
You're running your clinical decisions through the framework of, would I want this for my mother?
The medical field looked at me as that celebrity daughter that wants to open this commercial clinic. I was able to change that perception, thank God, with my work and with the truth. I wanted to sell, I wanted to get out. I couldn't take it anymore, I didn't know what else to do. And I started questioning, am I in the right field? Am I in the right place? We've both reached that point of not wanting to continue because we feel we're so drained.
And exactly the same thing has happened to you, is it drained my energy out of the business.
Each person has his set of challenges.
For the clinicians watching this,
My advice to anyone is to enjoy the journey.
so today I've got a really special guest who I can't wait to introduce you. If you're interested in learning about how to grow business in the Middle East or anywhere else in the world, because they're all very similar principles, and you want to learn from someone who's really mission-led, which is what I'm so excited to bring to you, someone who's really after the truth and quality treatments for patients and trying to leave something really valuable for patients rather than just make a fast buck, this is going to be the podcast for you. So welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your backstory and what's brought you here today?
For sure. My name is Sham AlZahabi. I'm a scientist chemist. I was trained in England, actually. Before starting my clinic, my business, Derma, I was studying in Cambridge, material chemistry, and we were growing, skin and doing all different kinds of experiments on collagen and seeing how aging happens from a cellular and biochemistry level. And I had this passion for skin and anti-aging because of my love for my mother and admiration for my mother. And when I went back to Egypt, I decided to open a clinic that is based on science, based on principle, and based on all the latest in the industry and always being updated in order for me to deliver the best there is for people like my mother in our practice.
So we've talked off camera on a different podcast recently, and what I loved most of all about your story was getting this idea about what is the question you're trying to answer. Because I actually think most humans are going around life, they're trying to answer a fundamental question. What would you say has been the question you've been trying to answer with your life?
How to slow down aging on a cellular level. That's really the core of my life and my research and what I do at work and what I've been doing in my postgraduate studies in university. How to slow down that aging, the biological aging of cells. How to slow that down so that we can look younger for longer. And I think that's the fundamental question I'm trying to seek an answer to.
And why does that matter?
Why does that matter? I think because I love my mother so much, and my mother is very fearful of aging, and I don't want her to age because I want her to stay happy. And that's why I'm on that quest. For me, if you come and ask me, I'm okay with wrinkles. I'm okay with aging. I don't mind that. If I hadn't opened a clinic in the aesthetic field, I don't think I would have been a frequent visitor of aesthetic clinics. I'm a scientist, so I'm not very concerned with. My first Botox treatment was 2 years after I opened my clinic, and I do it every once in a while. I'm not very, I don't care about my looks as much as I care about my mother, and I think my love and devotion for her is the reason why I want to find the reason. And just like my mother, so many women, they want to look good. As women, after going through menopause, we start aging much faster than men do. Biologically and physically, because of the hormonal disbalance that happens. And we were able to expand the lifespan of humans, since 200 or a couple of years ago. We're living longer now, but unfortunately we're living longer with more disease. So we're living longer with aged skin, with not so well health, that we really need to focus on internally in order for us to not only live longer, but live longer, happier, healthier, happier with how we look, in order for our life in total to be of good quality.
So what I love about the fact that you're using your mother as a driving force is because it's grounding many more of your decisions and your strategic decisions in business on how to get the right answer,
Exactly.
rather than how to solve a financial problem, for example. And of course, you because of the success your mother's had, which if my audience don't know, she is, you said, like the Adele of the Middle East. So she's extremely famous, very well known, had a very long career. And you're trying to answer a question, which is how do I maintain that for as long as possible? Because what a beautiful thing if you have someone who's got a fantastic career that's bringing so much joy to so many people, and you can help prolong that for her. It's a beautiful gift. But what it does is it changes the types of decisions you'll make in business, and I think that's the heart of a really valuable business, because there's a mission behind it. It's not just about making money. So I wonder if you could share some examples of decisions that you've made that you wouldn't have done if you were just trying to make a load of money. What have you done in your business that you would only have done because of how you're doing it and why you're doing it?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. But let me start with, for example, the dermatology as a major part of my practice. So, in dermatology practices, we treat skin, and the consultations, they also take, as aesthetic consultations should take, they take a long time, to understand the history of the patient, in order for you to really be able to diagnose and treat the dermatological disease of that patient. We treat all kinds of dermatological diseases, from vitiligo to psoriasis to many skin conditions, skin tumors, and I love that. I really love curing and treatment. And that to me, I always felt like in order for me to be able to give that holistic approach to aesthetics, I need to have a strong dermatology arm, a strong nutrition arm, that complements aesthetics. So they should all go hand in hand in order for the treatment to be very holistic. And a lot of doctors were very, unhappy with that. They didn't want to work in dermatology. They wanted to jump right into aesthetics. And they would tell me, you're still young, you just started this business. If you want to make money, you should be injecting more fillers and Botox and focusing on that as your main tool. You should be advertising that on your Instagram page, befores and afters and all that. You shouldn't be, pushing people to do dermatology consultations or pushing doctors and training them in that aspect, because it's a waste of time to them. It's not financially rewarding. So that was the first issue. The second issue is like with under eye fillers. As I told you, I wanted to find a solution that was not fillers under eyes, because I felt like the rate of satisfaction, as you said, is very low, and the risk of complication is very high. I wanted to find a solution, so we commissioned the R&D, and we worked very hard to developing the platelet-rich fiber for under eye. It's cheaper than PRP. It's a cheaper, there's lower cost in doing PRF, and the profits are much lower than fillers. But to me, it made sense. I would want to be treated with PRF under my eye rather than fillers if there is a chance of having some complication under my eye. And I would do the same for patients. And there are a lot of decisions every day that are being made as such, like, for example, using ultrasound guided injection techniques. A lot of doctors told me, but it's going to take more time, but it's going to slow down the flow of the clinic, and I won't be able to see as many patients as I could if I'm not going to use ultrasound. And decisions like this, no, we're going to adopt ultrasound, and we're going to be as safe as possible. I have AccuVein for showing the veins under skin, and the thermal camera for showing if there's any, God forbid, occlusion, in order for them to immediately, treat it. The measures that we should take and we must take, even if it's gonna compromise, the income of the clinic, we must take in order for us to deliver the best treatment possible and the safest treatment possible for our patients.
So you're running your clinical decisions through the framework of, like, would I want this for my mother?
Exactly.
Yeah. And,
exactly.
The reason I wanted to draw attention to that is because I think it's the heart of what is really valuable. And it's so easy to get distracted by the price or the revenue and forget about the value. And I don't think you have anything to worry about for the success of your business financially if you are grounding it in value. And actually, the bigger risk is that you ground it in profit and then you make short-term decisions. So for the audience who I serve, I think it's really important, because most of them actually, I think most, if you talk to most doctors and nurses, I always think of the 6-year-old in me when I first decided I wanted to be a doctor, and I wanted to put the plaster on my brother when he hurt his knee. There's that part of you that just wants to heal, that actually is the best part of you. And as you get older, you're like, oh, I haven't got enough money and I haven't got a big enough house or a car, and you have to bring yourself back to that earlier stage. Exactly. and make decisions through that framework, which is what you were doing. I mean, I think the psychology in the relationship with your mum is probably not that different to when you were 6. You probably wanted to delight her and help her then, and you still want to do the same now. Exactly. And what it does is it makes sure you're making decisions on real value. So I love that story, and I think it's really worth sharing. So on your mission, though, I'm sure it hasn't all been easy. And I'm sure because of your status as the daughter of this incredibly famous and well-known woman, probably people think your life has been easy.
Definitely. They thought that's the reason why I became successful so quickly. And little do they know. But please continue.
So yeah, I'm interested in you looking back now from where you are now at what you think the hardest part has been so far.
The hardest part was, there are so many hard parts, Tim. I think the hardest part was proving not to patients, because patients and word of mouth quickly spread when people came to the clinic and saw that, and especially that I was already a public figure before opening the clinic. So a lot of people were following me. I had like 500,000 followers before opening Dalderma. Of course, it grew a lot over the years, but a lot of people were following me, following my steps, knew that, I was a scientist. I was in Cambridge. I was awarded a scholarship. There was a lot of there was a lot of people that knew my background, so they knew that I'm a credible person, and I'm not just the daughter, the spoiled daughter, because there's this prejudice, Tim, regarding celebrities and their children. There's this maybe there's some reason to why there's this perception that if you're a celebrity daughter, then you're probably spoiled, you're probably have it easy. But I've always been different. My mother's always been very different to celebrities. My mother's always been a hard worker, responsible sister to 4 brothers and sisters that she's been taking care of since they were, orphaned at a very young age. She taught me hard work, and she taught me to work hard for everything I achieve in life. And I never took the easy way in life. And I think that's what I had to prove, not for patients or for like people around me, but more for the medical field, because the medical field looked at me as that celebrity daughter that wants to open this commercial clinic and just have all the celebrities come to the clinic and conduct it in a commercial way, and probably she's so overpriced and exaggerated, because it was all based on this misperception of me and of my vision and what I'm really trying to build, and the reason why I'm doing this business. And it was a challenge to change that perception. And through a lot of, a lot of hard work, I was able to change that perception, thank God, with my work and with the truth, let's say, because the truth always stands out. And they got to see that. And now they want to attend our trainings, and they want to attend our scientific meetings, and they want to be a part of the academy and be trainers at the academy, or come attend the academy for trainings, because they believe in me and they started seeing the truth. And that was, I think, the biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm. So if I put that into my own words and make sure I understand it, it's that people were cynical of your motivation and maybe believed that it was just easy for you because of your position. Whereas the actual truth is, like, there is no one who builds multi-clinic who finds it easy, because it's hard.
Of course it's hard. And even also, the fame comes with, the fame and the scrutiny, like the fame that I got from my mother and that made my business, famous when I first started. it was also a disadvantage because it gave me, there was a lot of scrutiny and a lot of pressure that I couldn't go wrong. There was that pressure made me not sleep at night for till now. I don't sleep, by the way, Tim. I work 24/7. I'm always like on my feet, and I'm sure you felt that sense. I'm always working. I don't take breaks. I like, rarely do I take breaks. I'm always, very concerned and very keen on every single detail of my clinic. Every single patient I follow that comes to my clinic. I follow what they do, their treatment plan. I try my best to be on top of everything. Because of that extra scrutiny, maybe it put on more pressure on me. Maybe if somebody was not known, they could start with less pressure and, learn and have trials and errors at a lower cost than I did. If I had done something wrong, the scrutiny and being in the public eye would make it much bigger, and that's what many people do not understand. I did get the advantage of having my mother's fame. A lot of celebrities come to my clinic. That was an advantage, but it also had you had to be up to it. There had to be fundamentals and a core and a strong core in order for it to continue, because people had high expectations of me before coming to the clinic. They're expecting to be treated like celebrities, to have incredible service. The expectations of going to Dow just is up there. So we have to work so hard day and night to fulfill that expectation, so that patients, when they come, they get to be taken care of the way they desire and the way they feel that this brand will treat them with. Mm-hmm. And of course, what also took a lot of work is to make people understand that we're averagely priced. We are not above market price. Actually, we're in many treatments, we're cheaper than our competitors, like people in the same field. We're not. We're in the average. And that was always my mission. I don't want to only serve the very rich and the very wealthy and the A+. I don't want that. I want to be able to serve as many women as possible that are in need of that service, that are in need to be taken care of holistically, and especially women, middle-class women that are working and raising their children and multitasking. And you've got a lot of Egyptian women that do that. Egyptian women are one of the most beautiful, and actually they're ranked as the strongest women in the world before the Americans. So it's number one, strongest women is the Egyptian women. It was a beautiful, article that I read. I was really, really very impressed. I'm not Egyptian myself, but I have so much respect for Egyptian women because they work so hard. They work hard. They raise their children. They're extremely hands-on with their children. They're hustling and they're driving they're hustling from morning till night. So these women, I really want to take care of them. I really want to treat them. I really want to pamper them. I want to touch their soul before anything else and make them feel like they're cared for, just like how they're taking care of everyone around them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. I can see the echoing of how you feel about your mother. You're translating onto Egyptian women in general.
And I have so many family members now that are my patients, I have so many patients that have become family to me. And I love that, This, as you said, we're driven by relationships with one another. And I love that my work has allowed me to develop those beautiful bonds of love and trust and giving with so many of my patients.
Yeah, that's actually what is one of the ideas I always say to people when they're starting out. They say, "Can you give me what's your top tip?" And I always say, you're not going to like this, but you should love your patients.
Exactly.
Because if you love your patients, then you make the right decisions and you build the right systems and you choose the right treatments. And
that's so beautifully said, Tim.
But it's but really what they want is a technique or something. But the technique doesn't matter. Yeah, you will find the technique if you start from the right question, which is what I love about your story. I'll share something else with you, which I think is useful to understand when you get criticism or when people doubt you, because if you think about people being cynical about your efforts and about why you're doing it and whether it's easy or not, the reason I think they do it is because it lets them off the hook. They no longer have to try and ask themselves the question, why am I not as successful? And I'll be honest, I'll let you know a silly thought that I had, and thankfully I caught myself doing it and I laughed at myself for it. But when I went to Switzerland to meet Dr. Felix, I don't know if you've seen in Inner Circle, he's got an amazing clinic. And I remember walking around, it's got a Michelin star restaurant in it, and it's a hospital basically. And I heard myself say, maybe it's just a bit easier to do this in Switzerland. Like as if there's something about Switzerland that would make that. And at least I heard myself saying it because I haven't got a £100 million clinic. But what I realized I was doing is I was defending myself because I hadn't done it. Like you're trying to let yourself off the hook and think, well, if he can do it, maybe it's just easier for him because otherwise it means I'm less good than him in some attribute. And that's why people do it. And as soon as I realized that, it helps me firstly deal, because I get my fair share of cynicism as well. People will say things about why or how I do things. And it just helps me to understand that they have to do that, or they have to ask the question of why am I not better? But I love asking myself the question of why am I not better? And because of my approach and not being jealous of people, like I'm now really good friends with Felix. We're going to Necker Island shortly, and I'm learning from him. And, he's learning from me because we have different strengths. But that's really what you want to create, is that sense of
that healthy environment. And that's what I'm trying to create now through the academy. I want that healthy environment between us all. We're not competing. We're completing one another. We want to add to one another. We want to rise together. There's 120 million Egyptian. It's a humongous market. It's a humongous market. And the world, there's 7 billion. We're not competing. We shouldn't be jealous of one another. We shouldn't be we shouldn't be treating one another in this way, talking about one another behind one another's back. That's not ethical. That's not correct. We should really help one another, empower one another, so we can uplift, the entirety of the field together. And when you don't have that jealousy in your heart, and you have love in your heart, and you have a good conscience, you'll catch yourself if you tend to stray away. You'll catch yourself immediately and then correct that, and always try to be on track. And great things come into play when you have those good intentions. I really believe in that. And that's why great things happened between you and Felix, and your relationship became, very prosperous for both of you. And there's wonderful collaborations going on. It's because, it's your intentions have always been, good and pure.
I think you have to keep an eye on, you have to be self-reflective and make sure that you're always on the path. But the other thing is knowing, like, where this is also what you have very clear, which I think is helpful for my audience to understand, is you're focused on a goal that is not about who is left and right of you. And another thing I got from being a father is watching he was 4 at the time, his first running race at school, and I videoed the whole thing. And he was doing well. He was like number 2 or 3, and then he starts looking left and right, and he's no longer looking where he's going. And he comes off his track. He hits this other kid. He eventually comes 8th, and he's really upset because he didn't win. And I was like, well, look what you did. You spent the whole time looking left and right. If you just looked where you were going, you would have done much better. But that's the same in business. And you have a mission. You're trying to find the truth. You're trying to find the answer. You're trying to build something that's driven by quality, not by beating someone. Then you get so much further. And it's very hard because of similar reasons we talked about, because you look on social media and you see people who look like they've got everything, and you think, maybe I should change course, or maybe I should try and be more like them. Exactly. And that's why I think it's so helpful just to try and find something that's really deep and important to you, and use that as your driving force, instead of trying to be left and right, because those people don't even matter. And I don't know if you've experienced this yet from the critics that you would have had, is it sometimes feels quite important at the time that someone is criticizing you, and you think about it a lot, and then 2 years ago and you've forgotten, they're miles behind and they're no longer important.
I don't even I think one of the good things that my mother has trained me, being the daughter of a celebrity, is to have thick skin, to not let insults and criticism affect me at all, affect my course of, because a lot of us as women, we're very sensitive and very emotional. So if we don't acquire in the workplace thick skin, we're gonna, we're gonna really hurt, because we take things at heart a lot. I see the difference between me and my husband at work. I'm very emotional. When I get a patient with a sad story, or if she tells me something, I'll cry with her. I'll be very affected. We're very emotional beings. And I believe that we must learn how to have thicker skin, and to not get demotivated by any of the attacks or any of the haters, let's say, in order for us to really rise. Especially in my industry, Tim, it's led by males. Like all the leaders of this industry in my field are males, mainly they're males. So to them, as a young female entrepreneur, scientist, not medical doctor, to them, I've got it all wrong. What am I doing here? They had to attack me, but I believe when you really work with passion when you really work with passion and you have a mission and this is like your main goal, you will get there no matter what, no matter how much they try to pull you down, no matter how much they try to mock you, it won't matter because you're focused on your goal. You're not focused right and left, as you said, and giving an ear here and there and getting demotivated and upset. I would always tell them, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what anyone is doing. I don't want to know what my competition is doing, how they're leading their businesses. I don't want to know. I want to just focus on me and what we're doing and how we're going to get somewhere else. And everyone in my team, they'll tell you that, Tim. We don't look around us at all. We're in our little bubble, in our scientific bubble, because I don't want us to be affected by any approach. I want us to remain, rooted in our philosophy and in our approach, in our scientific approach, and stay focused on our goal and not get distracted. And this is really the reason that made us continue and branch out to Qatar, and now we're negotiating, branching out in different places in the Middle East. It's that we're different, we're focused, we have a mission, we have a vision, we have a credible name, and our name, the credibility of your name is priceless. And it will never be built if you're looking for shortcuts and short returns. It will only get built with perseverance and with hard work.
Yeah. And
conscience.
I can echo that. I always say that the primary currency in aesthetics is trust, but if you can apply that to every advert you make, but you can apply it most of all to the consultation. So if you keep thinking what I really want to do is produce a patient who trusts me, not a treatment or a result, then you changes what you do, because you may quite often get to the end of the consultation and not do anything, and the patient's fine with that because you've explained everything. So, because really what you're trying to do is make them realize that you care about what actually happens to them after the treatment, and you care about their life and all those kind of things, and then they trust you. And so many times in my career, I've had people come back that say I might not do a treatment on them, or I remember once memorably I helped a lady who'd had bad treatment and I just corrected it for free, just a Botox asymmetry and stuff, and she was really upset about it, and it wasn't hard to fix, and I didn't charge her because she was so upset. And I remember thinking, maybe I'm a bad businessman because I just did that for free. But then it was about a year later, she referred her mum and two of her friends, and it mounted up to thousands. I was like, well, that's a worthwhile lesson, that you just do things for the right reason and the money comes back without you having to worry about it. The other thing I just want to echo on what you said. So this mission idea and a mission over time is also really important, because I think what happens to a lot of people is they get distracted by the criticism and their mission becomes to fight the criticism.
Exactly.
And so you end up with a debate on the side or some other thing that you want to do, and you're not solving
and
the
your
problem.
Heart. I always say, I love pharaohs. Pharaonic history is so beautiful. They have this analogy that the day of judgment is the day where God is going to weigh your heart with a feather, and your heart has to be lighter than a feather. And those people, the pharaohs, they're geniuses. We know that, and it's really very true. Your heart becomes heavier. It becomes polluted with all the fear and the anxiety, and it becomes heavy. And the heavier your heart becomes from jealousy, from looking at your competitors, getting distracted by what they say, and then wanting to fight back what they say, and going into that, it pollutes your heart. It makes it heavy, and it makes you heavy into pursuing what you were set to achieve. It makes it more difficult for you to achieve. You will only achieve and rise when your heart is light, and I believe that. I believe the driving force behind any success, and I'm sure you're with me on that, is pure love. It's the love that you have for your patient is what's making what's making you succeed in your practice. The love that you have for what you do and your practice is what's making you, shine in your field. If you have love as the primary core and what fills your heart and the foundation of what you set yourself to do, it's the highest frequency and energy. It's love. It will make you rise and shine. So this is really, a very simple tip that both of us can agree to give a lot of our listeners and all doctors. But maybe doctors will think it's too good to be true. It might seem like it's simple, but it needs a lot of self-reflection. It needs a lot of self-correction from feelings of jealousy at times, and you just want to correct yourself. I don't want to feel that. I don't want to have hate for my colleague. I don't want to have jealousy of someone being more successful than me. I want to stay focused on myself. I want to keep my heart beautiful so that I can make an impact in my practice. I can make an impact to my patients, because patients will feel what's inside you. People are not stupid. People can feel if you're honest, if you're genuine or not. And I see that a lot. Doctors that are impactful with their patients are sincere doctors. There was the study that I read, compassionate doctors tend to have more successful treatment plans with their patients than less compassionate doctors. How beautiful is that? Not more skillful, more compassionate. If you have compassion for your patients, you will succeed with your patient. You will have a stronger influence on your patient. That patient will come back to you, will tell people about you. You'll have a better word of mouth. If you just focus on your heart, not only on your skill, but on your heart as well. It's a big part of your journey as a clinician.
I love that. So it echoes back, like, what is the real motivation? Because if the real motivation is to relieve the discomfort in your patient, you act very differently to if the real motivation is to relieve your own discomfort, because you haven't been paid as much as your colleague. So you do things differently. You can't escape the motivation. You look like you're doing the same thing on the outside, but if the motivation is different, you detect it. And so the real journey in life is to try and find something truly valuable outside of yourself that you're working towards. And that's exactly what your story is showing. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful place for people to start their practices. And if you're in the middle of it, it's a beautiful place to ground your practice. Like, how do you add as much value as possible to your patients, make them, I love that story about the pharaohs. I've never heard that before, but it's a beautiful idea that you pay attention to how you feel on the inside. And when you feel light, if I look back to the patient who I gave the free tweak to, I felt light after that. It was only the thinking afterwards that made me think maybe I should be charging, because some of my colleagues were like, always charge for corrections or whatever. But actually I felt light doing it, and it paid off in the end, and I didn't have to. It paid off because it felt nice to help someone. But if you can do that, if you can weave that into your day-to-day practice, you're gonna build something way better. It's a brilliant. So the two things I've got from this, really important things, is that central ethos, but also that you will be challenged to pull away from the lightness and go into the darkness by the people around you sometimes, because not everyone is happy when you succeed. In fact, there's a great quote my mom told me, which is, for some people, every time someone else succeeds, a little piece of them dies. And because if you're stuck in your life, and this is, a lot of my followers will know this, like if you work in the NHS and you tell everyone really excitedly, I'm going to start my own aesthetics practice, at least half the room are very unhappy about that, and they start to get bullied, they start to be criticized. And if you just understand that the reason that they feel that way is because you are challenging their whole life choices. You are growing and they are staying still, and that means for them it feels like they're dying, and they have to say something awful about you. And you are doing things a different way. You're coming at this from a very different angle from many of your colleagues. You're building something different. You actually don't have the same goals as your competitors, which means, are they even your competitors? They're not really.
I don't see them as my competitors. Yeah. That's the thing. I don't see them as my competitors. And I always, try to spread the news, guys, I'm not making as much money as you are, because you're more commercial, you're injecting more, you're doing more aesthetics. So for sure, you're doing 2 or 3 times my revenue, and I'm very happy with that. So don't hate me. Let's just come together and thank God. With years in the industry, it's been what, 5 years now, almost 5 years. Things changed. People, they got to know me as who I am, and they got to feel my intention, because the truth always will always conquer and will always stand out. And my intentions and my heart, at least for the majority of people in my field, we've become very good friends and acquaintances in the field, and they see my genuine my genuine aspiration to help them all evolve, to help them all in anything I can help them, in how to develop their social media, in how to develop in sharing results from our research with them, giving them advice, allowing them to join our trainings and workshops at the clinic, and now doing an academy that will, give that to more of the doctors, and be able to spread that knowledge and give them the know-how to be like the holistic doctor that it takes for you to become successful. I would love to give that to them and share it with them and teach it to them with no conflict of interest. I mean, this is not a conflict of interest. It's a big market and a big field, and I enjoy teaching much more than anything. I'm sure you feel the same way about the academy. I enjoy the academy because as a researcher and as someone affiliated to the university, I've always loved, teaching science and spreading, that love and passion for science. So to me, the academy, I felt like my heart was in it from the very beginning. So when it became founded and we got the accreditation, I really felt like this is really one of the most beautiful journeys I want to take. And it will help me, reach out to many doctors, reach out to not only to their minds, but also to their hearts, and try, for us all to be more enlightened and evolve as practitioners in the field, so we can really uplift this field that has become heavily reliant on commercialism, to become more medical and scientifically oriented, and evidence-based practice should really, pivot the direction of this field, not commercialism.
Absolutely. So it's once again, it's grounding it in truth and value, and making decisions around the right variables all the time. So something that's as valuable as possible for patients, which indirectly then produces a valuable clinic, but it's the ethos is like put that first.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit more, because like I feel this this drive in this beautiful direction, and that you are building things. But what has been one of the challenges I face is at each stage of my business development, I feel like I hit a limiting factor I didn't even know was there until I'm there. So for me, one of the things I found difficult was I had a really just beautiful time between 2013 and 16, maybe 2017, and I had this close-knit family of clinicians. We were all on the same page. We had this wonderful ethos of sharing knowledge, and we'd come into each other's rooms, and then I made basically the team kept growing, and without going into the specifics, like there were a couple of people who just did not, they were much more into their own, I don't know what the word would say. I don't want to say
they're not
too
team
negative.
players.
Yeah, they're much more jealousy, more keeping an eye on what other people were doing, and complaining about stuff, like arguments over tiny things all the time. And I did the clinical approach, which is try and solve them, and like, let's understand. And you had a difficult childhood, so I'll talk to you more about that. We'll try and fix you. And I left it for so long that it eventually caused a lot of problems. So I'm interested because you have similar, bigger clinics. So I think we had up to 13 clinicians, and that was when it became too difficult for me. I mean, I may have solved it, but in the end, it was easier to just shrink the team down, put more people on more hours. COVID came, which also had an impact, and to get rid of people. So that was the other thing, but it took me way too long to do that. I'm interested in how you've approached that, because you sound so mission driven, and also the way you talk about things, you're full of kindness and empathy and all those beautiful characteristics, but they don't always help you put boundaries down in a team. So I'm interested, like, what's been your approach to how to how to put boundaries down, not just to love, because I always think, being a good mother or father is about love and boundaries. And I'm very good at the love and I had to learn the boundaries. Tell me a little bit about how you've managed your team in that way.
Well, Tim, it was a learning curve, just like your story. I have a very similar story to mine. My story is very similar to yours, with having people part of your team that don't share your same values, don't have the same heart as you do, and therefore they won't be able to represent you well as you want them to represent you. And I think what's so beautiful about life is that if your intention is so clear, people that are not like-minded to you will be filtered out. Even if it took me long, by the way, too. It took me a long time to filter these people out of my life as well, and out of because they're toxic for the teamwork. They're quite toxic, and you need to filter them out, and you need to be able to see them early on and spot them early on before they cause a cascade of issues at the workplace and disrupt the vibe and the energy of the place. For some time I was so demotivated. You see that motivation and energy and passion, it came back after those people got filtered out. At some time in my career, I wanted to sell. I wanted to get out. I felt like I was helpless, and I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't know what else to do. I gave all my love and my heart and everything I could do, to my team. I literally give my team everything I have, everything from finance to, I invest in them from day one. I invest in them completely and utterly in anything they feel like will value them. I will do it for them. They travel the world. They go to the best cadaver trainings. They go to the best trainings done in the world. The first thing I did when I opened the clinic, I looked at the top 100 injectors, and that's why I approached you and many top doctors to train my team. And I trained them not only on the best techniques and best trainings and send them everywhere in the world. I also invest in who they are, and I try to help them on a personal level. And that's when it becomes very demotivating, that you feel like you've given those people everything you can possibly give, and they're not giving you back with heart and with love. And it was very hurtful for me, especially that I was very young. I was in my 20s, and I felt maybe this field is not for me. Maybe I should go back to the labs and be with my fellow scientists, and that's a better and more healthy environment for me to grow. And I started questioning, am I in the right field? Am I in the right place? And I wanted to sell. I really wanted to sell, and I did an evaluation, and I had a seller that was going to buy me. And it's just, Tim, it was like divine what happened. The currency got devaluated. So the selling a day before I signed, I had to stop because, I was valued at something, and then overnight I'm valued, half. So I had to not, proceed until the market stabilized. So that made me stop the selling. And then those people started getting filtered out, and my love and passion for my clinic and for my brand came back, 10 times stronger. And I now I ask myself, like, how for a second did I think I was going to let go of this baby? I love what I do. I do what I do out of love. I love working. I don't like to take vacations and holidays. Like now I'm on vacation, but I have meetings every single day until I come back. I love what I do. I don't want to take a vacation and holiday from it. I love the academy. I love the clinic. I love the field. I love it. It's where my heart is. But it's very important for you to have the right people around you. And this is a blessing. Your team is a blessing. They are the ones that are going to move you forward. They're the ones that you can't do everything, by yourself. You're going to have to delegate here and there and everywhere. Even especially when you're growing, you have to delegate as much as possible and ensure that when you delegate, that person will be responsible enough and will be grounded with your values and ethics, so that when they come to take decisions, micro decisions and all that, they will take it just like you would take it, because there are values that are well imprinted in all of your team members. So having the right team is like the biggest blessing. And we'll go back to that, to the heart. When you have a good heart and you have a loving heart, you will have the like-minded people gravitate towards you. Like-minded people, you know, bird of a feather flock together. And if you're you know, destined for a good cause, you will have like-minded people with similar ethics and values come with you, unite with you, and help you spread your message stronger. Because you need a team. You know, it's all about teamwork.
I think one of the things I learned is I was too distracted by their ability to do the tasks and not the energy that they bring. So this is what you mean by heart. Like there's a type, if you ask someone, is this person's energy generally positive or generally neutral or negative? It's very easy. You can tell in a second.
Definitely.
But I wasn't asking myself that question. I was saying, can they inject? Can they consult? Can they teach? And all these things, like they a lot of them were great at it, like actually really good.
Exactly.
But then within the team, it was just this pulling and jealousy and all this stuff. And exactly the same thing has happened to you, is it drained my energy out of the business. And going into the business, I used to sit outside in my car and try and think of reasons not to go in.
Me too, Tim. Yeah. Me too. It's so funny, and it's so it's crazy that we live, you know, in different parts of the world, and we both love what we do. We both truly love what we do, and we do what we do because we have our heart is in it. But we've both reached that point of, you know, not wanting to continue because we feel we're so drained because of the having wrong people in our workplace. They might be qualified as practitioners, but their energy in the workplace is toxic. And this is very, very important, especially for patients. They want to come into a clinic. They want to feel a good, positive energy. They want to feel good. How are you going to touch their soul if there's, you know, toxicity and hate and jealousy and fights in the clinic? That's why one of the things I always do, Tim, is I always ensure, you know, I have no gossip policy. So gossip is not allowed in my clinic, you know, especially, you know, when you have a big team, you know, you'll have a lot of chit chats here and there. Gossip is not allowed. We're not allowed to talk about one another. It's not allowed. And of course, it took me a long time to implement this. I try to coach my team, not only, of course, doctors, all my team members. We take a lot of trainings. We do a lot of meditation. We do a lot of yoga, mental health. I did a book club. And I started, you know, making them all read certain books like Atomic Habits and positive books that helps them develop, not only doctors, all members of the family, all my family, like from reception to nurses to call center to managers, everyone. We get to sit together and discuss, you know, how to evolve and how to develop, and how can I help you guys develop, and how can you help me develop. And only when we work with a good heart and have the common vibe of love fill the place, will good things happen to us, and we will rise, and we will succeed, and we will be strong if we have that energy that unites us all. And it's very important to filter. But I think in everyone's career, you will have those people that will try to suck your energy and bring you down. And you learn with experience, you know, how to pinpoint, this person. From the interview, you start, you know, acquiring enough experience to be able to detect if, okay, this person is skilled, but he could be, you know, a lot of drama. He could cause a lot of headache and a lot of hassle. So you want to, you know, avoid that person, even if he's very good at what he's doing and injecting and all that. But this personality part is very important.
It's not an intellectual thing. I used to have a receptionist. Her name was Katie, and we all loved Katie. Katie, doesn't matter what you suggested, she'd always be excited and happy. So, but the other thing that she was really good at is that she would read people very quickly. And I actually think if you ask most receptionists, a lot of them are good at reading people. So we'd have a job interview, we'd call them in.
You're not good at reading people?
No, I am. I'm better now than I've ever been, but I used to read them. I used to think it was an intellectual challenge, not an emotional challenge. Yeah. So I'm good at reading people now, but I just have to put myself in that framework, because I was hiring people thinking I need a checklist of skills they can do. And then I'd ask the receptionist, like, what did you think of that person? As in thinking maybe like, are they presentable to patients? But they'd say really interesting things like, he's pretending to be happy, but he's not, or she's she's not really as friendly as she looks. She'll snap you, like, and it's like, and they're in the room for 30 seconds, and then I'd, like, a year later, I'd employ that person and be like, you told me that.
Exactly.
And you were in the room for 30 seconds, and I interviewed for 2 hours and gave her the job, and you knew in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds. That's
so
intuition.
Some people, and I
Have
do
strong
think
intuition.
it's more of a female thing. I think than for men.
Because we're more
we're a bit
emotional.
tunnel vision about things sometimes, but I certainly got better at it. But it's one of the things, and we now do it as a stage of interviewing, which is like, what is the gut feeling you got from this person? And because so often I was actually betraying my gut feeling and trying to override it with fact, and also often, it may not be similar for you, but you often are desperate when you're hiring. Yeah. So for me, I was actually working like 6 days a week, trying to pull myself out because I was working way too many hours. So I was desperate for someone to take some hours off me.
Yeah.
And so I would overlay, like, push away the doubts and get someone in and get them practicing, and then realize the problem, and then not want to let them go, because then I'd have to go back to the clinic. So it was I got caught in a short-term
dilemma.
Problem with and then obviously, but you learn that there are no shortcuts. Like, you have to do things properly, otherwise you end up paying the price. And that's all the experience that you get as you go on. But it's really interesting to hear that you've had such a similar experience, because one of my things as I've trained clinicians, I've realized that we're all on such similar paths, not just clinicians but business owners, and we always think it's us, but actually it's a stage of development, and it's learning that you're getting taught, and that's actually what I think business, in the end, the only thing you really get to keep is the development and the learning, because everything else gets left. Maybe you'll sell it, maybe you'll make the money or lose it, but you get the experience that you can't lose. Exactly. And for that, it's worth it, because you grow in confidence over time.
Exactly. And my advice to anyone, and that's the advice I wanted myself to take a couple of years ago, is to enjoy the journey, enjoy the learning process, and know that, we're sharing our experiences, and we found that we both had many difficulties that were very similar, and a lot of challenges that were similar, and each person has his set of challenges given the environment he's working in, and so forth. But you should know, I always like to, I love quantum mechanics, Tim, and I love astrophysics. I love modern physics because it always makes me shift perception. It makes me change my perspective from my day-to-day life. It makes me think of the world as either, this planet, one against billions of planets. So, my life and my troubles don't really matter when I come to, shift perception to the atom, or to infinity and beyond. And I wish, I had that perception from when I first started, or especially when I was going through those challenges, to enjoy. Now, with all the challenges I'm going through, I learned to enjoy. I'm going to enjoy the journey, because really there is no destination. We're going to keep on learning. We're going to keep on evolving. We're going to go through hard times, but those hard times that we're going to face, whether financial or technical issues in building a team, making sure that the operation is, better and improving, and all that. We all have problems in the business, and just enjoying the journey and enjoying the pressure that we're in, knowing that this pressure will bring out a brighter, more beautiful mind and person out of us. We will get to be more mindful in our lives and enjoy every stage of our lives, not just wait for a fleeting and never reachable destination that no matter what success we reach, if we're not enjoying the journey, we will never feel satisfied. We say, no, but I want to go further and further. So just enjoy every step. Know that every business will have challenges, and especially in our field, there are a lot of challenges that we all have shared and come to pass through as a result of development. But just enjoy it. Well, enjoy the ride.
We're very interestingly on a very similar stage, because after going through many of the battles, you realize you come out having solved many of the problems. It's more just about what you can learn next. And I actually think about business. I didn't realize when I started, I just thought I wanted to start a business and, have a private practice and all those things. But what you're really doing is you have to figure out how some really important things work. You have to figure out how you work, because a lot of it's just ideas in your head until you apply it. You have to figure out how people really work and how the world that you live in actually functions and interacts. Because what I realized I'd carried into my early days was just a load of ideas that I'd learned from someone who knew nothing. So then you start off trying to apply it, and it breaks and it hurts, and it doesn't function like you think, and then you have to redo your ideas. And I think what you do over time is you're aligning yourself closer to reality, closer to the truth. And this is why, it's interesting that you're in it with wildly different stories, or just trying to do the same thing, which is trying to get to the truth of things. The most valuable thing you can do, but also the truth of yourself and why you're actually trying to do this is really important. And for the clinicians watching this, that's really, if I could go back in time and sit with a coach for an hour and say, like, what are you really trying to do and why, and ground myself in that instead of allow myself to be distracted and by people who weren't ever going to help me do that. Because this is the problem I had, sounds kind of similar to you in some of the things you said, which is I say to them, my job is to make this the best place to work, and your job is to stay in the place that you think is the best place to work. And if it's not that, you should go. But actually, that was partially right. My main job as the CEO is actually to achieve the mission. And I do that by making it the best place to work, but I'm also mainly focused on the mission. And when I made it too much about trying to make the staff happy and forgot about the mission, because you can make someone who's dysfunctional happy temporarily by changing a business mission and changing, and that's the biggest mistake I think people make in it, and
Definitely.
particularly clinicians, because they tend to be highly empathic, is they will drift their whole mission in order to make one person temporarily happy, and this is where you need the love and the boundaries together, so that you achieve.
Tim, I think what we have also similar to one another is we both have we have a soft spot inside us as CEOs and leaders of our business. We had to learn the hard way that we need to have boundaries, and we need to be able to say no, and we need to even if that means that some people will be upset and might not like what we're doing, but as long as we're just focused on our mission, because we can't stray away, we don't want to upset that person, we don't want him to feel upset. And I went through the exact same thing. And sometimes you feel like you don't know what to do. You don't want your team to be upset. You don't want them to not like you, to not like working for you. But at the same time, you don't want to lose focus on your mission. So you're put back, and you're slowed down. And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned, to stay focused on my mission, just like you've learned. And to not let anything distract you. And if your team is the right team for you, they will stick with you, and they will believe and see where you're going and help you to go there faster. If they're not for you, they're going to distract you, then sorry, goodbye. It's better to find another place.
Yeah, and it may be better for them too.
And it might be, of course, it's better for them.
Yeah, sometimes it feels very emotional and almost negative about that person. But I also like to think that, if they are causing problems in your team, they're on a different journey, and they need to go and do that. And, I have high hopes that if you meet them in 10 years' time, they would have, I don't know, I had an ex-girlfriend who was like this. And I remember, basically it was only a childhood thing, but she cheated on me, and it was awful, and I hated her for a long time. And then I got a bit older, and I looked back on it, and I thought about what was going on in her life, and I stopped hating her, and I messaged her. We were going to have a school reunion anyway, and when I met her, she'd changed so much. Like, she'd learned lots of stuff, she'd reflected on the same thing, and it was like this wonderful piece, and it went off, and that's their journey, and we needed to break up so that she could go on a different journey. And
exactly,
and it's kind of nice to think of your staff that way as well.
Definitely,
because also then you can get rid of them without hate in your heart. Like
Definitely.
You said, the heavy heart thing.
You can't let anything, even the negative things that happen to you, contaminate your heart. I always think of it as contamination. Let them go in peace, with love. Wish them the best. Just stay focused, because even that hate, it takes away from your energy. So you don't want anything to take away from your energy, so that you can achieve more. You want to be focused. You want to have all your energy put into your life's mission. So you don't want to hate and be jealous. All that is wasted energy in negative places that will come back to you in a negative way and be recycled in karma. You don't want that. You want to stay positive. You want to stay loving. You want to stay focused. And good people and like-minded people will gravitate towards you, and you will find the right team that will help you and will have the same energy as you to reach where you want to reach.
Having said that, though, I would say that doesn't mean you should let them back into your life. Like, it's okay to let them be free and not worry about them. But, I've had a few now that I'm like achieved a lot on social media. They want to come back in. And it's not that I'm blocking them. I just have so many other, I could be talking to you instead,
Exactly.
So why would I go down a route with someone who like wasn't good for me?
Exactly.
And I wish them all the best, but I'm not going to have them close again.
Exactly.
So it's about, once again, it's the boundaries thing, but it's not
boundaries.
carrying the heaviness with you when you go. Let them be
Exactly.
free. So I think what we've been talking about really is the struggle of being a leader, and you expect it to be all things in many ways. Like, you expect to be kind and compassionate, which is built into any clinician, usually, well, should be into most clinicians. But also there's this problem of you can't navigate purely by that. So given what you've learned so far, and you now have a team of like dozens, maybe even, how many people you got now altogether?
I lost count because of Qatar. I still haven't counted them all, but roughly like 24 maybe.
Okay, so this is a big team of people, lots of opinions, lots of personalities, lots of different motivators in their private life. Like, what do you think makes a cohesive team? Like, what do you think a leader will do to keep those people on track?
I think a leader has to be loved, but at the same time, they I don't want to say be feared, but I don't want people to think negatively about feared, but to understand that there is boundaries. You have to be loving, but at the same time you have to be strict, and you have to ensure that people, because sometimes when you're too kind and you're too nice, and that was my problem at first, and that was the reason why maybe I couldn't lead my practice in the way that I wanted. Only when I started learning how to set boundaries and how to be strict and stand for what I believe in, no matter what, no matter how much oppositions I'm getting, if I see it's right, they have to know that it's gonna be done, and there are boundaries of respect in the workplace. So I think you have to be firm and kind, and compassionate, and set boundaries well. Lead by good example. You have to be an example for your team. Your life and your personality, it has to be an example for your team. If you're somebody that's gonna have jealousy and be jealous, or whatever the things that we're saying, if you're not gonna be a good ideal, not just a leader, you will not be able to lead them by example. You have to lead by example, by being the best version of yourself possible, and maybe that puts more pressure on us to continually reflect and self-reflect and evolve as people. So it's beautiful, because you feel like so many people are looking up to you, so you really need to be as perfect as you possibly can, and not do any mistakes. It helps you become a better person, I think, when you have children, like especially with your kids. Imagine having more than just your kids. I feel like my team members are like my kids. They're like my children. I feel like they're my family, and I always call them, you're my second family. I spend more time with you than I do with my own family, with my own biological family. So I want them to to feel like they're proud of me, they love me, but at the same time, they don't want to upset me. They don't want to do things that they know is not part of our mission and vision, and will delay our growth, because they have their hearts are with me, and they want me and them as one to move forward in this journey together.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think it is a good summary of leadership. And actually, Dr. Felix said something similar to me, which is that you're effectively trying to be a father or a mother to an organization of people. Which the thing that is slightly different is it's in terms of the psychology of maternal versus paternal. It's slightly more paternal in a business, because you must believe in their growth as well. So it's not purely protective. It's also go and do something that's a bit scary for you, like go on social media and make the podcast, and so there's that little nudge to go and do things that are scary, which I think fits more with the paternal psychology. Not that mothers also have a paternal side. It's just that risk-taking element that you need both. But to do that, you have to believe in their potential as well. And it's that combination of believing in potential, keeping them on track, and building that sense of trust that they want to follow you on the mission. But also the hardest bit, I think, is identifying the people who are not going to be on the mission. If you can do all of that, then you have a cohesive team, and it's a never-ending process.
It is. May we always find the right people, both you and I and everyone,
Cheers to that.
to accompany us in this journey of life. It makes life much more beautiful and worthwhile.
That's probably a good place to end this. It's been a really fascinating talk, and thank you so much for sharing
Thank you
your
so
insights.
much, Tim. Thank you. I had a beautiful time.